Would the regular meeting of the Edgecombe County Board of Education, March 14, 2022, please come to order. To honor social distancing related to the coronavirus pandemic, the public may attend the meeting per capacity of 25. In-person attendance will be on a first-come basis. The public, however, may view the board meeting via the link provided YouTube Edgecombe County Public Schools. Please join me, if you will, as we stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you see. We welcome you to the March 14th meeting. Beware the eyes of March, Shakespeare says. All right. Item number 2, the approval of the agenda. You've been mailed the agenda. Are there any corrections, or deletions, or additions? Dr. B? Anybody? Hearing none. Do we hear a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
Evelyn Wilson, offer a motion that we approve the agenda as printed. Second.
Motion second by Worsley. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Item number 3.1, Employee of the Month. Ms. Susan?
Good evening, Board Chair, Madam Board Chair, members of the Board, Superintendent Dr. Bridges. I'm excited to announce this month's ECPS Employee of the Month. Jenny Salzgiver serves as the multi-classroom teacher for math at GW Carver Elementary School and supports 2nd through 5th grade. According to Carver Principal Kristen Miller, she is instrumental in supporting teachers and staff members across the building. On any given day, Ms. Salzgiver jumps in to assist teaching a lesson, supports teachers in planning their instruction, and takes time to sit down to brainstorm and solve problems as they arise. She has built strong relationships with the teachers that she supports and is able to provide open feedback to improve student learning. She also takes on extra duties, such as leading the Junior Beta Club, so that students are provided with every opportunity to excel. Recently, she took the lead in securing gift cards for teachers on World Kindness Day. Ms. Salzgiver is truly an important member of the Carver team, as evidenced by the support, her fan club she has back there. Welcome, Carver team. Congratulations to Jenny Salzgiver, the ECPS Employee of the Month for March. And I also have a gift card from Greg Sessoms, who's a State Farm agent here in town, to present to Ms. Salzgiver.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful. There you go. Okay, congratulations. Item 4, public comments. I have the sheet. No one has signed up. We move then to item number 5, the approval of the open session minutes. First set, February 14th, regular business meeting, and then March 1st. Are there any corrections or deletions or in those either section, taking first day? February the 14th? Hearing none, do we hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second for the approval of the February 14th regular business board meeting open session minutes. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. March 1, special call board meeting open session minutes. Any corrections, deletions, or
Call for motion that we will approve.
you've heard the
March
motion?
approved.
Second.
Motion and second for the approval of the March 1st special board call board meeting, open business meeting minutes. Heard that motion and second, any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Item 6.1, school updates. Dr. B.
You should have a handout, it's a front and a back. You'll take a moment and look at that. You'll see our ECPS COVID dashboard. So this is for our students and our staff. You see where it starts January 21st up until Friday, March 11th. And you see our numbers are going down, down, down. That is great news. We're excited about that. We certainly hope that they stay in that direction. We know spring break will come and there may be a little wiggle room there, but just wanted you to see that as well as our community. So if you look at the bottom half, again starting January 21st through this past Friday, March 11th, you see the numbers on cases, 3.8% population. So again, you see the decrease and we're very happy to see that. Okay, you'll flip over to the back. Two other things here to share. So DPI has asked us to begin to create a portrait of a graduate or help participate in the portrait of a graduate from our state superintendent. She's asked that each school system select delegates. Each district can have up to 20 delegates. We certainly won't have 20 for Edgecombe, but I guess the districts may have up to 20. Some of the roles that need to be included are school board members, district administrators, school administrators, teachers, students, parents, business partner, faith-based members, parents, said that twice, and higher ed members. So those are the roles that would be filled as part of this process of Portrait of the Graduate. There are 3 meetings that have been scheduled so far. These meetings will be virtual, and then you have the meeting days. By this Friday, we need to have our selection of delegates for Edgecombe. And so if their board members, I've shared this with our DLT, if their board members were interested in participating, please just let me know so that we can make sure that we add your name to the list of helping with this process. I'll see if there are questions regarding Portrait of Graduate.
Question?
Okay. Several other states do have a Portrait of Graduate, and for North Carolina, we're beginning to build ours. At the bottom, you've heard about this, Edge Academy of Health Science, and so this is our cooperative innovative high school, and the name of it is Edge Academy of Health Science. It has so far been approved by the State Board of Education. It's been approved by the State Board of Community Colleges, both in February and March. We're waiting for one last piece or check off, and that's the North Carolina General Assembly for the final approval. Once approved, because we've decided that it is going to happen, once approved, the planning year would be 22-23. So next school year would be the planning year. 23-24 would be the first year of opening. And in our application, what we shared is that year 1 would be 9th and 10th graders, and it'd be 50 of each. Year 2, we add on a year, so it'd be 150, and it'd be 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, and then so on and so forth, up to year 5, which would be 300 students. So we're excited about this. Dr. McLeod, his team, Dr. Batts, Dr. Askew, they all worked on the application diligently, went through. I would love to share that application with you so you can see the detailed work that they've done. Again, we have our fingers crossed that we just one last check off from the General Assembly, and then we'll begin to hear a little bit more information. Once we get that, I'll share back out with you all, but I will send you an email the application so you can just see the details of the work that they put in. I'll stop there and again see if there are any questions.
When might Is there a window for the General Assembly?
Yeah, so I thought we would hear in March, but what we heard in March was from the community colleges, and so I'm thinking it will be April or May at the very latest. Yeah. And again, it would give us a full year of planning, which I think is needed.
Sounds exciting.
Yes, very. Okay, thank you.
And thank you. 6.2, maintenance update, Mr. Reeves. Welcome back and welcome to the good warm weather, right, sir?
Yeah, glad to be back. All right. Good evening, Mr. Board Chair, Superintendent Dr. Bridges, Madam Vice Chair, fellow board members. Few board maintenance updates. The grant that we applied for the metal detectors, they're finally here, so all 3 of our high schools have new metal detectors to use for our athletic purposes. We're starting to see some of our equipment come in. So the first one that came in was our North Edgecombe chiller. So as you can see, they pulled it off the building, I think the early part of last week, and loaded it on the tractor trailer to get out. Not only did we take the chiller out, we took all the pumps, all the evaporators, all the equipment out. The only thing we really left in there was the piping. And so you can see to the left, those old green ones, they're pretty beat up. So we replaced them. The new ones are still sitting. We can't open those until we actually connect them to the unit so trash doesn't get in them. But it's sitting there on the floor in the red that says do not open. There's the new chiller. It's a Carrier, came in, 20-year warranty. It's set in place. We are going to be without air for probably about another 2 weeks. It's just a matter of fine-tuning, getting everything hooked up, and getting it inspected. Met with Ms. Brown. We talked through it. She's okay as long as we can figure out how to keep some kind of air circulating in the building. So if we can make it till, the first, second week of April, we're fine. Now if we have an 80 or 90 degree day, it's going to be tough because of the fact it's not going to be cooled air going through the building. We can still turn the fans on, but it won't be cooled, it won't be chilled air, so to speak. So it's set in place. We finally got our glass in for our window replacement projects. Carver's came in a couple of weeks ago. We have them stored on campus in between the cafeteria and the main building. That's part of the ESSER funds that we received. I worked out a plan with Ms. Miller. We're going to start in the B wing, which is the wing leading to the mobile unit. We'll do 3 classrooms at a time. We're working around her testing schedule, and so we may have a few days in between where we don't actually do anything, but we're going to try to make it so that we can be on this side of the building, if possible, away from testing, if at all possible. Bad weather happens, but we're going to try to factor those days in as well. So it takes about 3 to 5 days to do 3 to 5 classrooms. And so hopefully by the time we get to spring break, we'll have the front office open. We'll be able to do the front office while they're out that week. I talked with her today, so we're going to try to make sure nobody's in the building while we're taking those out. We did test these windows. I know a lot of people think it's an old building, it's got to have asbestos. It does not have it. So when we pulled those windows out, that glazing came back negative for asbestos, so it's okay for us to keep right on rolling. West, their windows came in, so we have those stored on site. This one here will not take place until school is out. This one did come back positive for asbestos in the glazing, so that means we're going to have people out of the building. Now, I know we're going to have a lot of summer programs and stuff going on. We're going to have to figure out how to make this work. It's going to cause some inconvenience, but I think with the long-term reward, I think we're going to have to figure out how to make these things come into play. I shared with Dr. Bridges, we don't want to tell contractors, no, you can't be here, because that means we go to the bottom of the list, because everybody's getting this same amount of money. So if they have us on the list and we say, no, you can't come, he's going to whoever's going to pay him. All right, so that glass is here, stored on campus. The canopy, we finally got that aluminum in. So they set the post, which is coming from the old pre-K building that sits far out by itself. We're going to connect from there to the cafeteria, so that way when students are dismissed from campus or in the 600 building, they don't have to walk in the rain or in the elements. The Stocks burner assembly, it finally came. All red will be on campus tomorrow morning to install this at Stocks Elementary. As you can see, the one to the right, it's old. It's a 1965 model. So quite naturally, it's just past its life. We did what we could to keep heat in the building. We did put window units that had air and heat inside of them, but it's just not gonna keep it just like a regular boiler would. But that burner assembly is new to the left. I'll really install that tomorrow morning. All right, we still have some upcoming projects that we haven't quite got started on. Carver's chiller. This chiller will come off the building on the 22nd. We did work this out with Ms. Miller again. We got a lot going on in her building, but we worked this out with her to where we'll get this chiller off the building. As you can see, it's old, it's beat up, it's past its life. It's 26 years old, which is, kind of ancient for it. But it did run a little while for most of the summer. So we'll get this one off on the 22nd. We don't pull them off again until the other one is sitting on the ground ready to be put back. Patillo, the chiller to the left is the smaller one that went out on us. And it was going to be about $90,000 just to replace it or just to get it running because of the Freon. So we decided not to put it back into play because of the fact it's just money that we were not going to recoup back. So both of those chillers will come in on the 22nd as well. So we got a lot going on between the different schools. So both of these will be replaced. We're also going to change out, if you look at these pumps, you can see on the ground that white stuff, they're leaking bad. They hadn't been phased out, hadn't been changed out, and it's just time. Most time on a pump, something that runs like that, you get 10 to 15 years. These are right at 20, a little over 20. So you take back to 99 when these were first put in. So we're going to change out all these just like we're doing it north, and that way we practically have a whole new external system. The air handlers on the inside will not be changed, but those are just simple belts. It's nothing mechanical really about those. We've got Martin windows out for bid. The gym windows, they're pretty beat up. They're rough, but again, when you start pumping heat in there, you got so many windows that don't close, glass busted out. Those are going to be changed out. They're out for bid now. Jimmy Height is doing the design on those. Also, Phillips, that C building, which is the one that's far to the right, the far right building, those windows are in design right now to be replaced. Just a few more updates. We had the air conditioning units to go out at West Edgecombe Media Center. They finally came in. We're going to get those installed over the spring break. Hopefully the weather will stay somewhere like it is now, and so that we can continue to work. There's also 7 units on the building that'll be changed out that same week. We were trying to get it in before then. It's just too much of a hectic because we don't have much space at West to move kids around, and there's a couple of air handlers in the middle of hallways, so you would pretty much have to shut a hallway down to pull that big air handler out. Carver High, their security cameras have been giving us a fit. I think they pretty much had stopped working. We finally got the DVRs in last week. NC Sound was on campus last week, programming cameras, and we're going to get that DVR changed out, and that'll get all their security cameras back up and running. Heat. Now, there was a lot of pictures going around about Tarver High didn't have heat, a lot of phone calls. That's not true. Tarver High does have functioning heat. By it being so warm the past 2 weeks, the principal asked us to turn it off because it was just too hot in the building. We just had this day right here where it was cold, and so quite naturally we couldn't get back over there in time enough to turn it on, and then therefore the building would be hot. It's on now. We'll turn it off again tomorrow sometime after lunch, make sure the building's warm, but both boilers do work inside of that building. It was just at the request of the principal to turn it off because it was just too unbearable. School safety, we put out an RFP, or RFQ, I'm sorry, for 85 doors for access control. Height and Associates out of Greenville, they won that bid. So now we're going to pretty much get every one of our buildings keyed and if outfitted with the swipe badges. So we got about 85 doors. We don't have a budget number yet. We're still trying to work out how much lottery funds we have available to do this project. And so once that's done, it's going to start probably in August, and it'll go all the way up to probably about September, October. Now again, parts and stuff coming in, it's kind of hard to predict. All right, so here we are with ESSER. All right, so these are all the contracts we have that we've spent so far. And we're at a total of $5 million. And that's taking away the chiller at North, Carver, Southwest. We're doing both chillers at Southwest. Those will come in August. Those will be changed out somewhere before right around school getting back in. The window replacement at Carver, West Middle, the window replacement, Stocks chiller. We got 2 air handlers on top of Tarboro High School, right at the cafeteria, those old rusted out units. They're under contract to be replaced. Patillo, both of their chillers is up here. The electrical switch gear which is inside of Tarver High, the one that we talked about that was that could potentially go out on us. That's going to be done over spring break. Carver and South, we already started checking out those units on the enhancement building and the kindergarten building. Then we got some South with South Edgecombe. We got a couple of rooftop units over by the cafeteria. Then we got West, which we've talked about, the 7 units that are going on the building. And then the big one at the bottom, which is Southwest Edgecombe Gym, the rooftop units, which is over $1 million just for those rooftop units. That one at the bottom we have not voted on yet. You all have not voted on yet, but we just added it up there because it's on the agenda for tonight. That puts us at a little over $5 million worth of contracts, which is for HVAC and window replacements. Any questions?
Questions?
Concerns?
Comments?
Yes, I have a question. I received a call late after a game out at North Edgecombe, and I'm pretty sure you've heard that too, about the gym floor.
Yes.
And some children fell. I don't know, I haven't heard anything about that, and I'm hoping that we didn't have any injuries.
Not to my knowledge. Okay, so here's what happened, or what they told me happened. The gym, once it gets hot, it sweats. So apparently when I talked to Coach Miller, when they put the air conditioning in a few years back, they closed off the exhaust vents. And so when you start having all that warm air coming in and nowhere for it to go, it causes the floor to sweat. So when we talked about it, and I think before the last home playoff game, after the kids slipped, we went up and manually opened up those exhaust fans, and we haven't had any issues since. So it was just a matter of having some way for that air to get out of the building. So yes, that did happen.
Oh,
But to my knowledge, nobody got hurt.
good. We have a county commission and a team at that game. That's what
I've been to 2 games at North since then, and everything was good.
Sure.
okay. Good.
I had a question
Yes.
about, I think it was slide 11, or 18, I'm sorry, 18, with keys, the fob, whatever slide it was, with the keys. You said 80, okay, so is this all schools or middle and high school?
This is all schools.
All schools.
Yes. We sat down and went through them. Of course, we could have came up with more, but it's going to cover every building, even our annex buildings will have these swipe access on those. And we have it at a couple, well, I think all of our middle schools have some, and our high schools have some now. We're just going to add to those to complete the building.
Well, Mr. Williams, we're looking up. Things are looking up. Patience, patience, patience. Good things have come to us. Wait.
Sure.
And we appreciate that. Thanks an awful lot.
Thank you.
Wow. That's exactly right. And just said those are the lessons that came from COVID. We appreciate that. All right, thank you, sir. Item 6.3, pediatric asthma program amended agreement.
Yes, so I will go over this with you. If you look in the board book, so this is agreement between Pitt County Memorial Private Medical Center regarding pediatric asthma program. We are asking, Ms. Stagner looked at the agreement. She has some items that need to be clarified. So we'll ask that both attorneys get together for her and make the adjustments as needed. But I will, as information, I will keep this in pending those adjustments and concerns that we have.
Okay. Questions, comments? All right, 6.4, field trip, Dr. Reed.
Again, if you look in the board book, you'll see some extended day and overnight field trip. You see Tarver High School, Southwest, and then Tarver High School again. Just again, informational in between board meetings, just a little.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, 6.5.
If you look at 6.5, you see a fundraiser for plants for Brewer College. You see the amount, you see the dates. Of course, Mr. Smith would like for you all to buy some plants. So while you're looking at that information, please consider purchasing some plans for from early college.
We just contact him.
You can contact him, and I'm certain he'll be glad to help.
Other comments, questions? Hearing none, 6-6, Mr. Hayes.
Greeting Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Bridges. I have an item for information tonight. The 2021-2022 School and Library Service Program, known as E-Rate, applications are due by March 22nd of this year. Service and equipment sought for the E-Rate year that begins July 1st, 2022 include, and these are the services that we wish to inquire or to access for our school. Access points, replacement of indoor access points at all 14 school sites. Outdoor learning spaces, we want to replacement of the outdoor access points at all 14 school sites. And we also want to add an additional outdoor access point at 13 school sites. We also want to run fiber and install lockable racks and outdoor access points at all 3 high school football stadiums. And we also want some battery backups, replacement of the battery backups at 13 school sites. So these are the things that we want to do with our E-rate funding for the next fiscal year. Any questions?
Questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
1A.
If you look again in your board book, you see some field trips overnight at Carver High School and early college. You see the location of where they're going, the dates, and the purpose of their visit. And then you see some extended day trips. You see Patillo, North, Phillips several times, and I think North twice. And then you see the information, the dates, and the purpose of the visit. And you look further in the board book, you'll see more details, who the chaperones are, and additional information, exactly what time they're, you'll see that information. I'll stop there and see if there are any questions or concerns.
Questions or concerns or comments? Hearing none.
Okay. And then you have a fundraiser. You have a fundraiser for Carver, PTO fundraiser for Double Good to sell premium popcorn. You see the amount and you see the dates, March 28th through April 8th. So again, Ms. Miller will be glad for you all to purchase some items for her babies. But you see the information there. Any questions? Concerns?
Hearing none. 8-3.
Okay, and 3 is a request for approval of a grant from Southern Education Foundation in support of our Relevant Equity Challenge in the amount of $10,000. The contents of the grant are a little bit further in, but Southern Education Foundation does a lot of equity work, and we applied for a grant from them. They were willing to give us or offer us $10,000. Just wanted to share that with the board, see if there are any questions or concerns regarding that grant.
Questions, comments, anyone?
I have a question. I guess the decision to use that $10,000, could it have gone to our education foundation? Or you saw somewhere else to put it?
Yeah, so it is Southern Education Foundation. They have certain qualifications of what it would cover. And so we're going to be doing some equity work with it, looking at some of our policies and procedures. And so that's where the funding would go. It could not go to the foundation for the scholarships because based on the requirements of theirs, we could not put it against that. But I hear you. Absolutely.
Okay.
Other comments, questions? Hearing none. 8-4A.
Dr. Bass, you come or would you like me to do it? Come on up here. Dr. Bass.
Bridges.
Good evening, Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the Board, Superintendent Dr. Bridges. We are requesting approval to submit a grant application to the Association of Maternal and Child Health Programs in support of the HOPE Alternative Learning Program School Mental Health Pilot in the amount of $25,000. Mr. Williams, the HOPE coordinator, has already started the process in that it's a very rigorous application progress in which they have to go through an interview before you submit the actual application. So he has gone through the interview and he has not yet heard back, but he said that he believes that it's very promising. After he hears back from them giving him the green light to submit the paper application for the grant, he will. And if we are awarded that grant of $25,000, is going to go toward sustaining the mental health program that's at HOPE for our at-risk kids.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Appreciate you. All right. 858. Mr. Hayes.
Greetings again. The Technology Department requests board approval to submit a proposal to use ARP ESSER 3 funds for cyberbullying and suicide prevention in the amount of $55,111. The purpose of these funds are to contract with a third-party entity for technology to mitigate cyberbullying, monitor student internet activity, monitor classroom educational devices, and assist with suicide prevention services. The recommendation is to approve and submit a proposal to use the ARP ESSER 3 funds for cyberbullying and suicide prevention in the amount of $55,111.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, do we hear a motion?
It's on the consent.
Mr. Chairman, I make
I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve all the consent items as presented.
Second motion.
It has been motioned and approved. Second, for the approval of the consent items as presented. You heard that motion and second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Item number 8B, items for action, 8-1B.
We'll ask Ms. Hope if she'll come forward, approval of the 22-23 traditional school in Edgecombe Early College, High School, and I-Zone calendars.
Hello once again. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at the calendars, the draft calendars for both the traditional and I-Zone schools, as well as Edgecombe Early College High School. And the calendars are very similar to this year's calendars with just a few minor adjustments. The biggest change this year, you'll see noted there, that of course the school calendar law dictates that the schools can't open any earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th. That puts us starting school late, so August 29th is the earliest we can start. So that kind of pushes us back a little bit. So that kind of drove the calendar somewhat, but it is very similar to this year's calendar. And then we did survey staff members as well as the families and communities to get their input for the calendar for this year too, make some adjustments based on that as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Were there any glaring comments from the survey that you got?
But most of the comments were about the late start date, which of course we have no control over, and that, and then also the work days at the end of the school year. And of course we just explained that the calendar states that for teachers it has to be 215 days. So, but most of the comments were about those two issues. You got to fit them in. That's right.
Any comments or questions?
Well, I'll just add one thing. Susan and several staff members have met multiple times regarding the calendar. There are quite a few things that are coming up for next year as far as trainings, where we've tried to accommodate those and have some teacher work days so that teachers would have some breaks when those things happen. I think we did the best we could based on the requirements from the state. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Dr. Bridges.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 calendar for traditional I-Zone schools in Edgecombe Early College High School.
Motion and second for the approval of the 2022-2023 Edgecombe County Public School traditional and the early college and I-Zone calendars. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, that motion carried. Thank you for. A2B.
Yeah, Dr. Batts is going to come for several items. I won't read all of them, but they're all curriculum related, and he'll share some information.
Good evening again. I stand before you tonight seeking approval of 3 curriculums for 6-8 math, 6-8 ELA, and 9-12 math. Earlier in the school year, district and school teams got together for the bid process, and we went through each process for each of the curriculums at each of the grade spans. So we had several meetings, and through several meetings, virtual and face-to-face from the curriculum vendors, we have vetted those, and we have come to the following conclusions. For 6-8 ELA, our middle school team that consisted of teachers, administrators, and central office personnel, they chose McGraw-Hill through StudySync, and that amount was for $247,234.33. But that price was quoted for us for $612. So we're only asking for approval for 6-8, so that price should be cut pretty much in half. But we could not reach out to the vendor to get an updated price until we received approval from you. For the StudySync program for 6-8 ELA, the instruction is focused on strong skills and standards-based instruction that will provide the foundation for success in high school English and beyond, while affording teachers the flexibility to customize the curriculum to specific needs of their students and teaching style. And every day, students will be able to interact with high-quality classic and contemporary literature that's rigorous, culturally relevant, and presented in a high and engaging digital format. And there were 4 vendors that we vetted throughout this process, but again, McGraw-Hill came on top. So we are seeking permission to use McGraw-Hill as our vendor for our 6-8 ELA curriculum.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, we need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second for the approval of the purchase of
Second.
grade 6-8 ELA curriculum and award the bid to McGraw-Hill. Now, do we need to say anything about the bid? It's going to be cut in half, or it's okay?
I don't know, Ms. Stagner, I don't know if we need to pending a reduction of the amount. It looks like based on the 6-8 math, there's a significant reduction, so I think that was expected. I don't know if we need to.
Perhaps, an amount not to exceed what's listed here and pending potential reduction. That's what I said.
I heard you.
All right. You heard that.
Verbatim.
Yeah, you heard that motion and second. And any further discussions or unreadness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it. Have that motion carried. 6-3B.
All right, we're also seeking approval for the 6-8 math curriculum, and again, we went through the same process, and the McGraw-Hill through Reveal Math came on top again, and again, this is for 6-12, even though this particular action item is for 6-8 in the amount of $153,243.84. The Reveal Math program derives from latest research on how students learn best, and that's through productive struggle, rich tasks, and mathematical discourse. Reveal Math empowers educators to uncover the mathematician in every middle school student through powerful explorations, rich technology, and timely and insightful differentiation opportunities. And the unique approach of Reveal Math ensures that students just don't meet the standards, they master the standards. So again, we're asking for approval to use McGraw-Hill as our vendor for 6-8 math.
Questions or comments?
May I just make a comment? This has nothing to do with the math. I just want to thank you for giving us all the bids. That's the way we used to do it on everything. So you can see the options.
Absolutely.
The companies and the options. So I want to thank you for having the transparency to show us all the options we have.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies.
Other comments, questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the purchase of the McGraw-Hill Reveal Math curriculum for 6 to 8 math.
Second.
Motion and second, Johnson. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. 6-5.
All right, and the last one, went through, again, the same process for 9-12 math curriculum. The first time since I've been in ECPS that I'm aware of that we have had any high school math curriculum or high school curriculum altogether, so I'm very excited about this. We went through the same process as middle school, and our high school folk chose McGraw-Hill as well through the Reveal Math, and again, in the amount of $153,243.84, and this is just for 9-12, but again, that amount is for 6-12. And I would also like to say that in talking with the vendor, he said that if we decide to use him for multiple accounts, we get a bigger discount.
Nice.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, do we hear a motion?
Chair, motion to approve the purchase of Reveal Math curriculum for high school. Second.
You've heard the motion and second for the approval of the 8.5B. Heard that motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You sped it up. All right, let's see. We are at 8.5B, I believe, again.
Yes. We'll ask Ms. Griffin if she'll come forward for approval for the 21-22 budget amendment. Our interim finance director.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, Superintendent Dr. Bridges, doing good. I'm presenting the approval of the Budget Amendment 1, and it was my understanding we did consult with our firm, the consulting firm that's helping us, Hurd Consulting, for this, because Rhonda Wainwright had shared with us that Lori moved the money when the state allowed a one-time ABC transfer. And if that money wasn't moved at that time, then it would revert back to the state. And so we were just showing in, I know it's in y'all's board book, but the second page where it shows the capital outlay, where we began with 1.271,216, and then we took away the $131,202. So it leaves the appropriation at $1,140,014. And that, I think she's going to speak more about. That'll be 2 of those mini activity buses.
Okay. Comments or questions? First, let me say you congratulations.
Well, thank you.
All right, hearing none. I've had a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the budget amendment number 1 for 2021-2022 as presented.
Second.
Motion and second for the approval of the 2021-2022 budget amendment. You've heard that motion second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. 8-6.
Good evening.
Okay, how are you?
Good evening, Board Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and other board members. Dr. Bridges, I'm here tonight to request board approval to obligate a purchase order in the following amount of $131,202 for 2 new 2022 Carolina Thomas white mini activity buses. Each mini activity bus has a 24 passenger capacity for students and a 16 passenger capacity for adults. This purchase is being funded through local capital outlay funds, since the state of North Carolina does not provide funds for activity buses, only yellow buses. These two buses will replace our current minibuses, 8011 and 8013, both of which are year models 1991 Chevrolet minibuses, which are now 30 years old, and replacement parts are hard to find. And since activity buses typically go on long distance trips, not very safety is a concern. The vendor for this purchase is Carolina Thomas, which is also on state contract 71B.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, those need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the purchase order payable to Carolina Thomas LLC in the amount of $131,202 for 2 mini activity buses.
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded for the approval of the purchase order payable to Carolina Thomas for 2 activity buses with the amount stated. You've heard that motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Collins coming forward for our summer program plan for 21-22.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Superintendent Dr. Bridges, and members of the board. I'm here tonight to ask approval for the 2021-2022 summer program plan, which includes our summer remediation and retesting of non-proficient students on end-of-course and end-of-grade assessments during the 21-22 school year. As you can see in what was enclosed for you, this program is scheduled to last for 3 weeks. This year we have decided to divide it up a little differently than we've done the last couple of years to try to support with staffing of the camp. We are breaking it down into 3 weeks, with the first week being focused on the science remediation, which will be for 5th grade science, 8th grade science, and then biology courses at the high school level. The 13th through the 16th of June would be when we focus on our math remediation, and that would be our 3rd through 8th grade math classes, as well as our high school EOCs in Math 1 and Math 3. And then the 20th to the 23rd would be when we would work on our 4th through 8th grade reading remediation, as well as our English 2 remediation at the high school level. At the end of the conclusion of each week, it's a 4-day week for each remediation for each course. There will be 3 days, which is about 13 and a half hours of instructional, targeted, focused instruction for students, and then on the 4th day, they would test. Like in the past, this allows us to use the proficiencies into this school year that will be added for the schools. It does not impact growth for the year, only in the proficiencies, but we would like to make sure that our schools have the opportunity to increase proficiency with that targeted instruction. It also allows our high school students who may have failed a course during the course of the year to take a credit recovery course during that 3-week span and complete that during that 3-week span to get a pass instead of the failing current marker. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about the program at this time.
There's no retest schedule.
So there's no traditional retest anymore. They did away with that several years ago, but this is the opportunity that the state has provided us back to allow students. It's completely voluntary. So we can't force any student to come back and retest, but the students that do decide to come back and remediate and have the opportunity to demonstrate proficiency can do that through this program. Yes, sir.
I don't see why they wouldn't. It's been a good opportunity. Questions or comments?
Are we offering anything for students in grades less than 3 in reading?
Yes, ma'am. So the traditional RTA summer reading camp will still be in impact. It's just not directly related to this program and the retesting, but the kindergarten through 3rd grade students that would traditionally participate in the RTA camp will do that, and it will start at the conclusion of these camps.
That's the smartest thing we've ever done, is to try to catch it before the year that they have to test.
Oh, yes. And so, yeah, the actual RTA camp, it will start on the 27th is when the instruction will last for that, and it will go all the way through the 21st of July. We'll have a orientation day the prior week on the 23rd for staff to get up to date, but the actual RTA camp will be from the 27th of July up and through the 21st. The 27th of June up and through the 21st of July.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I recommend we approve of the 2021-22 summer program plan, including the summer remediation and testing plan.
Second.
Motion and second for the approval of the 2021-2022 summer program plan as presented by Mr. Holly. You heard that motion in second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Thank you, sir. 8B.
We'll ask Mr. Williams if he'll come forward for the approval of the contract regarding Baker Mechanic and replacement of the gym rooftop at Southwest.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Superintendent Dr. Bridges, and fellow board members. Come before you asking for approval of the contract between Edgecombe County Board of Education and Baker Mechanical to replace the 4 rooftop units on top of the gym of Southwest Edgecombe Gym High School, and the amount of $1,018,750. And we will be using our ESSER funds to cover this cost.
Questions or comments? I'm sorry. Hearing none, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second for the approval of the contract between Edgecombe County Board of Ed and Baker Mechanical Incorporated to replace the gym rooftop unit. And you heard that motion second. Those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. That's a house up there.
A nice house.
Good. 8-9B.
I'll ask Mr. Hayes if he'll come forward for the purchase of digital learning lab components for elementary schools. And he'll share a little bit more information, and then he'll go over middle schools.
So I'm before you for requesting board approval to purchase distance learning lab components for all elementary schools in the amount of $404,155.68. These funds were awarded through the Rural Utilities Service, or RUS grant. 85% of the cost comes from RUS. The remaining 15% of the cost will be paid from state technology funds per the grant requirements. We did post formal bids, and we used a rubric to award the winning bid, and criteria to be considered was price, compatibility, and the full needs of the grant being met. Those are the bids we received before you, and Encore Technology Group bid is what we went with as far as what we're requesting approval for. So the recommendation is board approval for the purchase of distance learning lab components for elementary schools from Encore Technology Group in the amount of $404,155.68.
Discussion, further questions or discussion? Hearing none, do we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the board approve the purchase of distant learning lab components for elementary schools from Encore Technology Group in the amount of $404,155.68.
Second.
You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Mr. Hayes, you're still up.
Yes, so we also had a requesting approval for the purchase of distance learning lab components for all middle schools and Hope in the amount of $86,481.68. Once again, these funds were awarded through the Rural Utilities Service Grant, or RUS. 85% of the cost coming from the RUS grant funds, with the 15% left coming from state technology funds per grant requirements. The bid was, this was formally bid. The rubric was used to award, and the criteria again were price, compatibility, and full needs of grant being met. You have the bids before you, and InCare is what we're requesting to go with. So the recommendation is for board approval to purchase the distance learning lab components for middle schools from InCare in the amount of $86,481.68.
Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of a distant learning lab component for middle schools from NCS Incorporated
for the amount of $86,481.68.
Second?
Motion and second for the approval of 8.10B, purchase of distant learning lab for middle schools. Heard that motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. Mr. Ellis, since you're moving us, take us into closed session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion under the North Carolina Open Meetings Law, sections 143-3, 18.11, A1, A3, and A6, to go into closed session to consider personnel matters, to consult with the attorney to preserve attorney-client privileged information, and to prevent the disclosure of student records rendered confidential under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G, and the disclosure of personnel records rendered confidential under General Statute 115C-319 through 321.
Second.
Motion and second for us to go into closed session as presented by Mr. Ellis. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion on unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, go by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, like sign. Ayes have it, that motion carried. Let's take 5.
How are you? It's been a while. I'm good. How are you? I know. I haven't seen you in ages.
I think we're ready for 10.1. Motion for the approval of the personnel management.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the personnel management 10.1.1.
Second.
It has been motion and second for the approval of 10.1.1. Personnel management as listed. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. 10.1.2. Extracurricular activities. I need a motion for the approval of that.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve our item 10.1.2, extracurricular activities for spring sports.
Second.
You've heard the motion and second for the approval of 10.1.2. Extracurricular activities, spring sports. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. 10.1.3. Extracurricular activities, spring events.
Of the motion that we approve 10.13, our extracurricular activities, spring sports agenda. Second.
Motion and second for the approval of 10.1.3 extracurricular activities, spring sports agenda. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. 10.1.4 closed session minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the closed session minutes from February 14th, 2022 of the regular business board meeting.
Second.
Motion and second for the approval of the February 14th, 2022 closed session regular business board meeting. You've heard that motion and second. Any further discussion or unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Ayes have it, and that motion carried. 11, board correspondence. Okay, anybody? Okay. 11, 12.
I did have something for 12. Received a phone call from a George Blakey Jr. from UCAN Summit. I'm not sure if you all are aware of that person and him being a part of our community. I did reach out to a few people who did know him. He is interested in hosting a summit for our students. After, I think Rose shared some information, she kind of looked him up. He looks really good. He's looking at May 5th.
We all know him.
Oh, you all know him.
He's one of our superstars.
Okay, wonderful. Well, he would like to do a summit. I'm going to share that with principals Wednesday during DLT, give them the date, give them the time, but I wanted to at least share that information with you all. He has sent an itinerary. It would not cost us anything. He's given an itinerary of kind of arriving at the community college. It'd be a field trip, but arriving at the community college, he's already spoken with Dr. McLeod. He has speakers lined up. He has breakfast. He has lunch, and just kind of meet and greet. And it's an opportunity for our high school students to just think about future, begin to fill out some applications and things for colleges if they so choose. He'd have a raffle and just different fun activities for them. Again, I will share that with principals. I think the date could be adjusted if we needed it to, but right now it's scheduled. He has it scheduled for May 5th. He knows that I was going to share this with you all tonight, share it with principals, and then he and I will speak again later this week. But I just wanted to put it on your radar if there was anything glaring that I didn't know, that you all would share that with me.
Church is a good one.
He plays basketball.
Basketball.
He plays it all over the world.
Yeah.
He's a traveling basketball player.
Yeah.
Friend of my daughter.
Yep, you don't see Carver.
He's graduated from Carver High School. Member of St. Paul, Reverend Andrews Church.
Eastern Star.
Eastern Star, yeah. He's a good kid.
He did a function about 2 or 3 months ago at Eastern Star.
And
When he was
he's
Steve's
been
fan.
doing the same thing down in Fayetteville,
Yes.
during the year.
Wonderful. Good to hear.
All right, anybody, anything? All right, hearing none, I need a motion for adjournment.
I said that.